Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this quarterfinals match between Alliance and Mouse Sports. This is game 2 of a best of 3 series single elimination, and this is still the quarterfinals, so if the loser loses, they won't go home with anything. So both teams looking to try to get themselves a nice chunk of prize money. Dreamhack champions were Alliance in Dreamhack Winter, so they definitely want to defend their title, especially in their home country of Sweden. But keep in mind, Sweden has yet to lose a Dreamhack in Dota 2 thus far. And in game 1, Mouse managed to just play really solid Dota. They managed to overcome the weird laning assignments that Alliance managed to concoct, and overall their picks carried them through the game. Black's anti-mage definitely helped quite a bit, but it was really Bone7 who was a standout player. His assassin was just so very aggressive and allowed Mouse to create so much space and forced Alliance to just buy so many wards that it might behoove Alliance to bounce Nyx in this game, just because Bone7 played such a solid Nyx game in game 1. But Mouse gonna ban out Admiral Bulldog's trademark hero in the form of Lone Druid. Keep in mind in this game, Mouse do have the first pick, so we might see 2 offlane bans by the side of Mouse Sports, and we might see Alliance. Yeah, they are gonna ban out the Nyx, respecting Bone7's Nyx, and they're leaving Wisp as well as Barrier left in the pool. So Mouse likely won't ban out. Well, they are gonna ban out Wisp, so look for Alliance to ban out the Barrier, or maybe they're just not afraid of Bone7's Barrier, since. I guess we're going to find out very soon what Alliance decided to do with this ban, as they could potentially get rid of the Barrier, but then they'd give up Anti-Mage if Mouse wanted to open up with that choice. But then again, if Alliance want to concoct a very early game centric strategy, then they could potentially deal with Black's Anti-Mage, but I don't know. I think I have a slinking suspicion that Alliance will try to get rid of Anti-Mage with this ban, just because Black was so very powerful with that hero in the previous game. And Alliance thinking long and hard, they're going to get rid of the Darkseer, so that means Mouse is likely going to pick up the Barrier for their opening choice, and that means Fada or Bone7 will probably play this Barrier. It's probably getting Bone7 in the end, because I mean Barrier is still a strong mid lane hero, but a lot of his mid lane presence has diminished somewhat because of the Flame Break as well as the Vision nerf, so I think this will probably be an off-lane Barrier, but still, you know, Fada could potentially take care of the Barrier if the need arises. Meanwhile, Alliance, we're going to have to see what they decide to respond with, as it's very tricky drafting into Barrier because he's such a strong ganker and overall just applies a lot of pressure on the map. They're going to pick up the Lifestealer and the Nature Swarm, so they're going to get themselves an offlane hero to get Bulldog to one of his trademark heroes. Unfortunately for Bulldog, he wasn't able to get too much going in the previous game just because Mouse had very mobile heroes that could potentially shut down Nature Swarm with split pushing shenanigans. But in this game, with the Lifestealer, now Bulldog is a bit of insurance policy, because if somebody ganks him, they can gank right back with the Lifestealer bomb inside. So, yeah. Usually Nature Swarm has a difficult time against Barrier, but with the Lifestealer on inside, he can potentially surprise the Barrier with a surprise Lifestealer infest gank.
5 seconds remaining.
We'll have to see what Mouse decides to reply with. I don't imagine they're going to pick up the hard carry here unless they really want to mitigate Nature Swap presence, because Lifestealer just handles Anti-Mage in the laning assignment, even with the open wounds nerf, just because his damage is more impressive, and he has Rage to really mitigate a lot of Anti-Mage's harassment. So I don't think Mouse will pick up the Anti-Mage, at least with this choice, and look for Alliance to ban out the Anti-Mage. And Mouse is going to pick up the Bane Elemental, so they're going to annoy the Lifestealer to no end with that Enfeeble before Lifestealer can cast the Rage, because keep in mind, Enfeeble can no longer be dispelled once it has been casted. Although once you are magically immune, you can't cast Enfeeble on a magically immune target. And also Fiend's Grip, because it goes through magical immunity, also very strong against Lifestealer. And currently, Alliance don't have any disables to lock down Mouse, so look for Alliance to pick up some disabling supports to really annoy Bane. And I'm expecting a Rubik choice from Alliance in this game, because they'll always be able to get Fiend's Grip, and if they're lucky enough, they might even be able to get Lasso. But Alliance is going to ban out the Gyrocopter once again, so they're going to ban out that hard carry Black. I think their next ban will probably be Anti-Mage, just because Barrier can create a lot of room on the map for Anti-Mage to farm up once he gets that dagger online. And you saw it in the first game that I casted with Mouse with Bone7, he was able to get a really fast dagger online and got, you know, 4-staff dagger and boots of travel by like the 22-minute mark on a Barrier. Really sensational farm, as Bone7 clearly has a good grasp on how to farm with Barrier. And the Bane Elemental choice also sort of puts a little bit of fear in Alliance's heart of potential ganks in the middle lane, so we're going to have to see if S4 picks up a mobile mid and I'm sure Alliance will try to pick up Queen of Pain or Puck with one of their mid-solo choices, just to escape those Bane elemental mid lane ganks, because the Nightmare into the mid lane damage, into whatever support decides to roam with Smoke Deceit, can just really put a damper on S4, and S4 really needs to get off to a good start. He didn't get off to a good start in the last game, and Alliance did pay the price in the end, as S4 is really the most dynamic player on Alliance by far. But Alliance going to ban the Queen of Pain themselves, and keep in mind Alliance do have the choice after the second ban phase, so Mouz might be forced to ban off the Puck if Alliance want to pick up the Puck themselves. Because I don't imagine... I have to think that Alliance will pick up the Puck after the second ban phase, just because if they don't get the Puck, then Mouz will get the Puck. And Fada's Puck did do quite well in the previous game, and the only reason it didn't get as good a start as Fada's Puck usually does is because Alliance dueling him with a Lich, and Lich duelings usually do quite a number. So Mouz thinking long and hard. Are they going to give S4, or are they going to give Puck to S4? They're going to get rid of the Visage, so they're trying to mitigate Alliance's trying potential. So this could potentially be a very strong farming carry for Mouz. But Alliance, I should be rubbing my hands at this, because I think this will be a Puck choice for them. And if they do get the Puck on S4, that can really annoy the Barrier, as well as the Bane Elemental. But we're going to have to see. Alliance still taking quite a bit of time to decide on what they should actually go for in this situation. If they don't go for the Puck, they could potentially get one of their two supports, and Mouz have already gotten rid of quite a number of supports, but still, Mouz only have one ban left to play with, and they've already picked up one support themselves. So maybe Alliance might look to pick into Alina or Leshrac to mitigate one of Bane's strong roaming supports. I'm not too sure. But it seems to me that this should be a Puck choice by Alliance, unless they don't really want to play Puck in this game for whatever reason. You know, it's a bit surprising. Neither of these teams seem to have an affinity with Treant. It seems to be a Quantic-only respect pick or ban in these situations, as Treant has been left through the pool, and he's so very annoying to deal with, especially for heroes like Nature Spot and Leicester who rely on their physical damage to do the majority of their work. But Mouz not looking to get Treant with their list lineup, because Bane and Treant just don't really do that much damage, and Bane wants to get some mid lane ganks with the Nightmare. And Treant is obviously not the strongest ganking partner in general. He wants to get experience, he wants to get the living armor online. And I don't think Alliance themselves will pick up Treant, because I don't know. I think they'll probably think that Mouz will go for a late game carry, and up against a Baron or Treant won't be able to win the game as early as possible, as Alliance is going to get Keeper Light for themselves. So I don't know why they didn't pick up the Puck. Maybe they have a plan for Puck if Mouz decide to pick it up themselves. Maybe they're going to try dual laning Lich as well as Leicester mid if Mouz pick up the Puck. Heck if I know. But also Syndra's Keeper Light was very annoying, because Alliance clearly want to go aggressive, and Keeper Light really allowed Mouz to play a bit more defensive, which created Black a lot of space to farm up. So maybe this is also a defensive measure to deal with the Anti-Mage and just pressure him so very early on if Mouz decide to go that route. But Black is a very versatile carry player. You could potentially pick up Phantomizer, you could potentially pick up Alchemist, and yeah, considering not too many carries have been banned out, there's still a lot of carries left in the pool that Black could potentially play. So we're going to see what Mouz decides to go for here. I think they're probably going to try to snag the mid-solo hero here, unless Barra goes mid, or maybe they're just going to leave it in doubt for Alliance and just leave them to stew and wonder if Barra will go mid or will he go off lane, and might try to secure themselves the carrier support here. As I myself am not sure, but Mouz going to pick up the Lina, so they're going to get the Cinder and Lina. And now Bane has a really solid ganking hero, and also it leaves a bit more doubt in Alliance's mind. Will Barra go mid? Will we have to do Barra versus Puck, which I think Barra does win, although with the Vision and the Flame nerf it's a lot harder. And also the mid lane on the side of Alliance will be in great danger of being ganked quite heavily from this really strong bursting, controlling support duo that Mouz supports have currently concocted.
Disruptor!
Alliance going to pick up the Disruptor, so that's one way to deal with the Barrier. So when Barrier blinks in, you can get glimpsed back immediately, breaking the lasso. And also, if Barrier blinks in, you can cast a Stag Storm and prevent any sort of follow-up initiation. And if Barrier doesn't have the Force Staff, then he could be in for a rude awakening.
Anti-Mage.
And keep in mind, you can't Force Staff out of Kinetic Field anymore, but Mouz going to pick up the Anti-Mage once again. I guess this was Alliance's plan. They want to show Mouse they're not afraid of them whatsoever, and maybe without the Keeper Light support. I don't know, giving up anti-H to Black once again seems not to be a very, very smart maneuver, especially considering Alliance don't really have the strongest early game heroes, but if the anti-H does blink in, he will get silenced unless he does have a BKB, so that could potentially be a very defensive measure and really force Black into an early BKB, and be assured Lifesteal eventually will go for an Abyssal Blade, and that could really shut down Anti-Mage in late stages of the game, but of course that's the late stages of the game. But so far for Alliance, they really don't have too much early game damage outside the Lifesteal and the Keeper of the Light, so that's what I'm a bit worried about. Their laning phase might be a bit weak, as Puck will be the ban for Alliance. They don't want to give Alliance too many of their favorite heroes, and Mouse still need a mid if Barrett is to go to the off lane. Alliance themselves need a mid, and we're going to have to see what S4 decides to go with. Will Alliance dual lane once again? Maybe S4 would play the Disruptor. This will likely be a support Disruptor, since he doesn't really need that much farm in order to make great usage of his spells, but he does need levels. He's not really the best Trine hero, so I think Alliance will go with the defensive Trine, and Mouse themselves will go with the defensive Trine. I'm a bit curious to know why exactly Alliance banned out the Puck. I think Puck would have worked beautifully because he can escape the Wrath of Bane as well as Lina ganks. Mouse gonna ban out the Doom. Interesting choice. May they know Anti-Mage struggles against Doom, because dooming an Anti-Mage against with the Lifesteal and Disruptor backup is just gonna be the end of him. Alliance gonna pick up the Dragon Knight, so how are they gonna do this? They're gonna have a Dragon Knight mid lane hero? They're gonna pick Beastmaster for Mouse, so really, really weird choices for both sides. Not going standard picks, but not really too many out of the ordinary choices either. Seems like both teams playing rather conservatively, as Alliance going with a very defensive lineup, but Mouse Sports going with the somewhat defensive lineup as well. But in the late stages of the game, if it is drawn out to that point, Alliance should have the advantage. They have Nature's Sword, they have Lifesteal, and they have Dragon Knight, and Disruptor does scale reasonably well with his AoE silence. So that could be very annoying for Mouse to deal with, so they might be forced to play some very aggressive Dota in the early stages of the game in order to try to take command of the game and really, really put pressure on Alliance. And unlike last game, they don't really have nearly as much mobility. They have Barrier and Anti-Age, and that's pretty much it. They don't have anything like a Puck. They don't have Keeper Light to recall people back and forth. They don't have a Blinking Nyx. I mean, Beastmaster could potentially build towards a Blink Dagger, but still, that's not going to be a first option. You will likely pick up the Aghanim before he picks up the Dagger. But one thing that's good for Mouse is that they have a lot of ways to shut down the double carries on the sidelines. They have Beastmaster Roar as well as Flaming Lasso, so there are a lot of ways to keep Alliance out of commission. So introducing the players and teams on the side of Mouse Sports, we're going to have Synderen playing the Lina, Fada is going to be playing the Beastmaster in mid lane, Pasta is going to be playing the Bane Elemental, Bone 7 is playing the Barometer, and Black is going to be playing the Anti-Mage. Meanwhile, on the side of Alliance, we're going to have S4 playing the Dragon Knight in the mid lane, going to be Aki playing the Keeper Light, Loda is playing the Lifesteal, EGM is playing the Disruptor, and Admiral Bulldog will be playing the Nature's Prophet. Some good-natured trolling here and there, as both teams likely to be friends.
30 seconds to battle.
Mouse and Alliance are just friendly teams in general. But yeah, just checking out the items, Black not being pulled anything, anticipating a solo laner, and Bulldog will likely be forced straight into the jungle. You can see he's anticipating that already. He picks up a very early Ring of Protection to build towards Ring of Basilius. And Black has a result, knowing he can get away with no regen, just going to rely on his latch hitting and his supports regen to keep himself in lane. Meanwhile, Mouse not picking up an early smoke in his seat, so it seems like they know S4 is going to be too difficult to gank at the moment, and Barrier not even bothering to go to the offlane, instead just gonna make his way towards the jungle, get as many stacks as possible, and trying to get as much farm as possible. And that worked out well for Bone 7 in his previous game. He was able to get, again, a 22-minute Boots to Travel Blink Dagger 4-step, which is very ridiculous on a Barrier. But this time Alliance have some inventive measures. They have Glimpse, they have tanky heroes in the form of Dragon Knight as well as Lifesteal, and they have... yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are all the defensive measures. You know, Beastmaster versus Dragon Knight, I'm not really too sure who wins this lane. I've got to watch what Beastmaster does, because his axes are... I mean, he has... I don't know, he just seems like he has advantage, because he has a higher base movement speed, he has a better attack animation, he has better damage potential. I mean, he has a boar that he can summon to help him out in terms of harassment. And Dragon Knight, you can Flame Breath spam all he wants, but Beastmaster should have the slight advantage, especially with the Stout Shield online, as S4 and Fada doing some mind games, trying to out-microwave to try to deny these hits. But Fada's already used all of his mana, so he won't have any mana to use those axes. And Beastmaster will be able to get rune control with the inner Beast aura. And it's... yeah, that's pretty much why Beastmaster should technically have the advantage, but Dragon Knight, under no circumstance, should die unless he does get ganked. And it seems like that's not really Master's priority. They look to get some stacks for black. And that might be why Alliance decided to keep Anti-Mage left in the pool, because they know Master Support roaming duo will mitigate on the fact that they want to get experience and they want to farm black up ASAP. And the best way to do that is to get levels, to get stacks, and then create room for black at that portion of the game where he's at his weakest, when the other heroes on the sidelines do want to go for ganks themselves. Loda not really minding pushing up the creep equilibrium because he knows Bone 7 will likely be farming up in the jungle, and he's just going to allow EGM and his supports to pull, get some experience. EGM has already hit level 2, and that's my biggest problem with the Disruptor in Trial. He's very experience dependent, and he doesn't really contribute that much damage to the Trial. I mean, Thunderstrike was buffed, but it still doesn't really do that much. It's very mana intensive if you repeatedly spam it over and over again. And Glimpse itself, it's a very, very, very powerful skill. It's probably one of the only reasons why people pick Disruptor along with his ultimate, but he does need levels and it has a very long cooldown, so you do need those levels to shorten the cooldown as well as increase its range. And it itself does not do damage in the Tron situation, but in this defensive Tron situation you'll be able to get enough levels online and actually put that second point to Thunderstrike, so maybe that's a maximum efficiency, because it's the second time I've seen Disruptor get that second point to Thunderstrike, as the usual build used to be 1, 2, 1, Static Storm, and then Max Glimpse. But meanwhile, Fada has the bottle online. Looks like he's bottle crawling using the empty bottle, as it seems like neither hero too keen on getting the runes. Dragon Knight has his own bottle, going to pick up the boot speed as well. And Dragon Knight doing pretty well in terms of farm. It's pretty even for the most part, but Dragon Knight has an extra deny as well as 2 extra last hits, and that is going to allow him to pick up the boot speed. And I think S4 did rush the bottle in the end, and Fada did not. And using that early mana might have cost Fada a little bit, but with the Inner Beast, the creep wave will constantly be pushed up, and neither team yet devoting themselves to the runes. So this will be a very passive game, and the action will come when Bone 7 decides to pick up his items, as he has picked up the Tranquil Boots, and now gonna likely rush the Blink Dagger, because he doesn't really need one at this point. He's not getting spammed, and doesn't really need bottle. Well, maybe needs bottle if he wants to jungle a bit more effectively, but Blink Dagger Rush is probably going to be the option, especially since he's already level 5. Fada has 700 gold in the bank, will probably pick up his boot speed, as S4 going to be deny the bottle. The Beastmaster Boar, I think, did deny it on the top lane, so good micro by Fada. He picked up that second point to Call of Wild, and it definitely paid off there. But he did have to sacrifice a point to Wild Axes as a result, so he won't be able to max it until late, which is a significant reduction in terms of damage, but considering Master Supports are not ganking, I guess they don't really need the damage at this point. And that's one thing I'm a bit worried about for Mouse. They're not really ganking, and in a late game matchup, I do have to favor Alliance a bit more. But Bulldog, only level 2 since the supports are pulling so much, and that is definitely going to slow down his farm as well as his experience growth. But we'll be able to hit level 3, and now he can start jungle some of these camps by himself, but Aki still needs some levels as well. So maybe Alliance will try to put some pressure on this top tower very, very soon, as Loda already hit level 6. Did pick up the very early hand of Midas, got that Midas rush on lockdown. And I don't know if he started with straight up Gloves of Haste. I failed to check his item build, but this is a very fast turn Midas. That's why he's already level 6, has that increased experience growth, has that increased attack speed, and now he's going to get uninterrupted farm, and that will force Mouse to try to pressure this tower somewhat. They know if Bulldog teleports in, he can't be enough to defend this, but Aki is actually at a sufficient level he can get that level 2 Illuminate off and really slow down Mouse's pushes, because Mouse don't really have that strong of pushing supports. They have Lina, and that's pretty much it. On the middle lane, looks like a huge engagement did break out. Fada was initiated on as Loda did come in with the Infest gank and Bulldog, but a nice teleport by Pass gonna mean the end of Admiral Bulldog, so that will be first blood, as Fada as well as Bane will split the gold. And Barrett actually teleport himself back middle, trying to help out his allies, so a bit of an unsuccessful engagement from Alliance to say the least. But S4 managed to survive. Bulldog was the only one who died, and he was just so behind in terms of the only one that really hurt was Loda. as he is going to have to make his way back towards the lane, but looks like he's going to do some stacks in the meantime. Doesn't seem like the stacks was successful, as I think it was a bit too late, but still, Lotus Farm is at a point where he can afford to leave the lane for a little bit. Fada did use the ward defensively to protect himself as a ward, as Bone 7 looking to initiate, gonna use the Flame Rake, but unfortunately S4 just a bit too fast, the Flame Rake a bit misplaced, and Bone 7 will just have to go back in the jungle, and he's getting very close to that dagger. He should have it up, I mean, in the next minute and a half or so. Well, I guess maybe by the 8 minute, or the 8.5 minute mark, but with the Tranquil Boots, that's ridiculous timing on the dagger. Especially since he picked up 2 TP scrolls as well. So that's really, really efficient farm by Bone 7, 50 CS, and a lot of those big neutrals is just going to allow him to pick up that dagger at a very, very fast timing. You can see Fada, those level 2 axes allows S4 to get a lot of easy denies, but only 4 denies for S4. So both mids seem to have a similar rate of success, but I think Fada might have climbed out a bit ahead from that shared gold from the first blood. The Dragon Knight not being stopped will now be able to put points in Dragon's Blood, and that's going to make him extra impossible to gank. And considering the Mouse supports weren't able to push this tower that effectively, I don't know. I don't know if these supports will have that big of an impact. There's going to be another gank in the middle lane. Looks like the Roar into Flaming Lasso combination was used, and the Flaring pushed S4 to an extent that he was killed by the Batrider. So nice gank by Bone 7. And that means Bone 7 will pick up his dagger relatively soon. He won't have enough mana to use the Firefly in order to kill off this creep camp to pick up his dagger. But maybe if he delivers himself a card, he will have enough mana. Bulldog recognizing he can't really do too much in the jungle, nor can he do much in the bottom lane. He's just going to make his way towards the middle lane when he knows Roar as well as Lasso are down. And Alliance going to start the pushing bandwagon. And the good thing for Alliance is that the supports have just been able to get levels a lot more efficiently. They did have to sacrifice Bulldog's level growth as a result, but EGM is now level 6, and that means the Disruptor, if he teleports in and casts Stag Storm, that will just do a huge amount of work in this early stage of the game. And actually EGM getting a 3rd point is Thunderstrike, so I guess he feels like Thunderstrike buff is enough that he can max it, and 400 damage in a slight AoE is nothing to sneeze at.
Top tower has fallen.
So I don't know, we'll have to see if this max Thunderstrike build will work out. And maybe he'll just keep farming up so he can actually max the glimpse before he actually takes the engagement. As Barry does have a smoker to see, he will have his Blink Dagger online and look for Bone 7 to immediately make a gank happen, but Fada has the regen rune, so he can actually get himself up to full mana. And actually Fada max Call of the Wild rather than maxing the axes. Maybe he feels like his team does do a sufficient amount of damage where he wants to have the extra vision from the Hawk as well as having the Boar in order to sort of spot the ganks as well as look for easier ganks.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Radiant not bothering to defend their tower, and that's a clear indication that Bone 7's looking to gank. He probably has his Blink Dagger, and I think that Alliance Ward might have scoped out Bone 7's dagger, and that's why Alliance are playing so very, very far back. And that's why EGM is there to defend his buddy S4 in the middle lane. And Bone 7, nobody on the Mouse side is still farming up this lane, but Black is still getting uninterrupted farm. Picked up the Treads, which increases his farming capability a bit more. And is going once again for the Burning build, getting more points in stats. It is going to have Battle Fury up relatively soon, but considering Alliance is getting a lot of farm as well, it's a bit iffy for Mouse. But overall, I think Mouse still has the advantage at this point in the game. Paz trying to farm up, and one thing that's good about these Bane lineups that Mouse runs is that they get a lot of farm on Bane Elemental. They like to get the BKB up ASAP, they like to get the Blink Dagger online, and just have a really, really farm Bane Elemental. And so far, that's not been the case, but he's just been pulling. But now that he made his way towards the lane, he was able to get some amount of last hits, and is getting very close to getting that Fiend's Grip online. Aki just standing vigil over this bottom tower, really preventing Black from getting that tower push going, and Black does not get this tower to deny range. And let's just continue to farm up, so this game very, very passive in the early stages, but we pretty much expected this from these drafts. These teams would play very, very passively, and I think it's on Mouse to sort of force the issue, because I think Alliance are very content with playing towards the late game. Dragon Knight, Nature's Prophet, and Leicester all scale very, very well to that end. And when Leicester builds towards an Abyssal Blade, of course that's in the very late stages of the game, he can deal with Anti-Mage pretty okay. Fada still farming up, picked up the Arcane Boots. We'll see if he rushes the Dagger or if he decides to rush the Aghanim Scepter. Remaining Necro build could potentially be an option, but that build seems to have fallen out of favor for Beastmaster players. And now Black, recognizing that Aggie is in the middle lane, gonna instead push the bottom lane, and the bottom lane should fall. I don't know if Alliance will bother to glyph it, as they will glyph it, but this might actually allow Black to get an easier last hit, as I don't think Aggie will be able to get through the tower range, and Anti-Mage does pick up the last hit, so that glyph somewhat wasted, but I don't know if Black will look to pressure the tier 2 this early on, but he's getting very close to finishing that Battle Fury, as he will have it in about 850 gold. Meanwhile, the side of Mouse is going to smoke up. They will get the last one to load. He can't pop his rage just yet. The Glimpse going to immediately send Bone 7 back, but he still managed to get a good duration. Pass will be the first one to fall. Static Storm disrupted Pass. He managed to get Brain Sap, but that was it. Good positioning by EGM. Immediately canceled, well, not immediately canceled the lasso, but still canceled the lasso in the end. And that first Blink Dagger gank by Barra did fail. So it might behoove Bone 7 to actually farm up that 4 staff. And you can see he already has Staff of Wizardry. But good reactions by EGM protecting his hard carry, and the Stag Storm helping prevent the pursuit of Mouse's Fodder, trying to get in position, looking to lock S4 in place. And I don't know if the Dire did see what kind of ward Fodder did have. They're going to place a Sentry Ward, so maybe they did see the ward, or they did see the rune that S4 had, as Aki could potentially be in a lot of trouble. And EGM doesn't have the ultimate, but should have his glimpse up. He will have it up relatively soon, as Fodder is just going to break the invisibility rune and try to defend this tower. Meanwhile, a mass exodus of TP is going to defend this middle tower. Bone 7 does not yet have the lasso up. As you can see, it's really level 11 that Barra wants. He wants to have that 70-second cooldown lasso rather than the 90-second cooldown. Of course, the increased duration definitely doesn't hurt at all. As meanwhile, Leicester picks up the phase as well as drums. Is going to go straight into the Armwood build. And the supports on the side of Mouse, those are who I'm really concerned about. Lena has some wards, has boots, has a wand, so a respectable amount of farm. Bane, on the other hand, not so good, has only just been able to hit level 6, but Black is kind of his Battle Fury shipped towards him, and this will increase his farming output by such a great degree. And this is the point of the game where Mouse can start becoming a problem. Now they can split push and apply a lot of pressure. But this time I think Alliance have the mobility to keep up. They have Keeper Light this time, which can be enough to drive Black away with threat of recall, as well as Illuminate. And they have Nature's Pump to push around, and he's not really going to be too troubled by anybody besides the Batrider. Meanwhile, Fada saving up a lot of gold. Looks like he's going to rush into that Blink Dagger, so Mass prioritizing initiation, and that will definitely help him out in the mid-game engagements, but we're going to have to see to what extent it actually does help them out. As S4 has the drums himself, so I guess Loda going to be playing some one-man Dodo for a bit. And also mobility very crucial on S4, as the push will come in. Mouse, they have a glyph. We'll see if they try to defend this. They are in position, and we are going to see a teleport by Bulldog. He does have Leicester invested inside him. Sinner going to be on trouble. He will most certainly die. Going to cast the Light Strike Ray, and he will end up falling. Bone 7 going to teleport himself into such a terrible position. The Roar going to be casted very late. So Mouse with a bit of miscommunication going to give Alliance a kill lead, as well as getting themselves a tower. But all the while, the tier 2 going to get pressured by Black. But still a good victory for Alliance, as that Infest TP was really well timed by Alliance, and they managed to get themselves a nice kill. Not too sure Batrider kept the teleport going, and Fada cast such a late Roar that it really did not accomplish anything. And Dragon Knight with the Haste Rune will be enough to drive away Black. He won't be able to kill off Black, because Black can probably just blink away to safety. But Black will have to be careful. And Dragon Knight almost to that level 11 point. He can get that Breathe Fire, and once Dragon Knight hits level 16, keep in mind, you can't BKB through the slow, and the slow does grow through attack speed, and that will really limit Anti-Mage's damage output, since Dragon Knight is so tanky that Anti-Mage can't just outright kill him off. So Dragon Knight, I think, performs very well against Anti-Mage in general, because of that attack speed slow that his Frost Dragon does give him innately.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
You know, Fada pushing out the wave did use a Buckler charge, so actually Fada gonna go for the mechanism. So gonna go for the utility Beastmaster. I guess that makes sense, since Mouse want to have a mechanism up sooner rather than later, and their support's definitely not farm enough to make that happen. So Fada will be the mechanism carrier, and he will likely go into a Aghanim Scepter after this. There's going to be initiation on S4. Will there be enough damage to keep S4 locked down? As there will be a teleport by the Disruptor, and S4 going to pop the Haste Rune. He's looking to re-engage on Bone 7. Bone 7, can he actually get out of there? As it looks like Mouse will be able to escape. But still, they did use another lasso. But at the very least, they did force out a couple teleports from the Mouse supports.
Dire's middle
And the
tower
push is
is
going to
under
come in.
attack.
S4 actually going to teleport himself back to the lane. Will initiate on Fada. Fada just venturing a little bit too close. Nice dodge by S4 onto Light Strike Array. S4 is going to get stunned by the Lord. Flame Break going to push everybody inside Mouse back. But Loda, now with that maxed open wounds, will be able to re-engage. Does kill out Fada. S4 trying to get the Dragon Tail stun off on the Siren. Will get it successfully. And Siren will die. Alliance just looking a lot more confident in this game. And it is showing off, as they've been able to reclaim the kill department. And they are always defending every single tower. So really, really strong play from Alliance. This is the sort of Alliance we were expecting in these Dreamhack games. And they are showing it off thus far. Taking a look at the gold as well as the experience graph. A gold graph favoring the Dire. They have claimed 2 towers. Experience graph also favoring Dire. So the double minus definitely helping them out, as Bulldog as well as Loda picked up minus. And they will be able to remain ahead even with Black's Battle Fury purchase. And also, even though the Battle Fury Anti-Mage is very good because it can farm the jungle, you're also restricting some of the jungle farm for your other heroes. And you can see Bane and Lina just really not farmed whatsoever. But Mouse will be able to clean up a nice ancient stack. We'll see how much gold goes into Black's pocket, as actually Bane was able to kill off one creep, but Black will be able to finish Yasha on the back of this farm. And Black will still be a problem very, very soon because he's able to get his farm rolling. And he's very, very rapidly catching up to net worth of Lifestealer. And even with that Midas Rush from the Lifestealer, so he will be able to surpass Loda. Will be able to surpass everybody for the most part. But my main concern comes from the rest of Mouse, because Black won't be able to not solo carry it up. Meanwhile, Bone 7 has the Force Staff, so now you can get some easier initiations, but Alliance have picked such a tanky lineup in general that it's very difficult to get the kills off unless there's a Laguna Blade and everybody inside Mouse is in position to get that
Dire's
kill.
bottom tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, Disruptor actually getting relatively farmed, level 9, so he's starting to get the max level's glimpse, and I really like a farm Disruptor. He can just provide so much more and cast more spells in general. That max Thunder Strike does 400 damage, has 1200 range, or 1400 range on the glimpse, with a 40-second cooldown, and has that magic wand as well as Arcane Boot, so he's very, very annoying to deal with. He has such good range that it's very difficult for Mouse to actually initiate onto him without that Aghanim Scepter on the Beastmaster. You know, S4 getting really, really farmed. Is it going to go for the Shadow Blade that was so greatly favored for Dragon Knights?
Radiant's bottom
I don't really think
tower is under
BKB would be
attack.
very good in this game because there are 3 ultimates that go through BKB on side of Mouse. They will rush an AC, but I think it'll probably be a Shadow Blade for
Radiant's bottom
S4.
tower has fallen.
And is that going to be a Shadow Blade? It is indeed going to be a Shadow Blade size. It increases damage, increases split push potential, and increases attack speed. Overall, all
Dire's
3 things
top
that Dragon
tower
Knight does
is
like
under
to have.
attack.
You know, Mouse baiting out a teleport onto this top tower, and they will be able to receive it, but it's going to be S4, the tankiest here on the side of Alliance. And by the time S4 takes, or is brought down to half HP, the rest of Alliance should be enough to arrive in spades. And that's going to force the retreat of Mouse, so Alliance just getting superior movement with their heroes thus far, but we have yet to see a teamfight fully break out. And the 3 ultimates on the side of Mouse are so powerful that if they manage to get all the heroes locked down on the side of Alliance, Black should be able to just tear Alliance a new one with his level farm. He will have the Meta Stealth
Dire's
relatively soon
middle
as well.
tower is under attack.
And actually TP will go in by Bulldog. S4 trying to look for a solo pickoff. Will initiate onto Bone 7, gets the Shadow Blade hit off. But here comes Roy. Loda will get the kill with his Infest, and now the Glimpse will send poor unfortunate Fodder right back to the waiting arms of Loda and friends. Nature's Prophet does pick up the last hit. Nice initiation by S4. And this should allow Alliance to get a tower push because of that Corrosive Breath doing additional damage to towers. And with Keep It Light on the side, I don't think Black will be able to push on this tower very effectively, although Lina is in position
Radiant's
to get some
middle
follow-up
tower is
damage
under
if Black
attack.
does manage to get a solid
Radiant
opening.
structures are fortified.
With this tier 2 tower will inevitably fall. Mouse can't really defend without the entirety of their lineup. And we're going to have to see who picks up the last hit. It's going to be Loda
Radiant's
once
middle
again.
tower has
And that is going to
fallen.
mean he can go for Desolator or AC. He's already picked up the Basher. I don't think he'll go straight for Abyssal Rush, but Black is definitely going to have to be careful because such a fast Basher means that he can't really play as aggressive as he might have hoped. And might be forced to just split push, and that's pretty much it. It's just going to be very difficult for Anti-Mage to do anything in these team fights at his current state. And considering that, Alliance will go and take Roshan. They have Static Storm, they have Disruptor who can control the Roshan very, very effectively. They have Keep Light who can defend, recall people back if any towers are pushed, but Alliance have actually pushed the creep lane to such an extent that Mouz can't even get any pressure off onto any towers. Meanwhile, Mouz gonna smoke up as Loda does secure himself an Aegis of the Immortal. So, actually he might finish the straight up a Diffusal since he is running out of item slots, or Abyssal rather than the Diffusal. And every time a little bit of pressure is applied to the top tower, S4 is going to be the one to teleport himself in because he is the tankiest, and he has the Shadow Blade. But this could be a death of S4 since the entirety of Mouz is here. Here comes the teleport as the Disruptor will be the one to teleport in. Bulldog will teleport in as well. S4 taking a lot of damage, but Black forced to retreat on out of there. Pos getting trapped in the kinetic field with no other one. Laguna Blade going to be popped on the EGM, but just simply not enough. Siren going to be the next one to stun as Mouz will just crumble under the pressure of Alliance in this game. Siren looking to teleport out of there. Can he actually escape? One bash? No, the glimpse going to be enough. That glimpse was casted twice in that weird engagement. And Alliance just steamrolling Mouz at this stage in the game. Just really, really solid play in general. Can't really say if Alliance made a mistake thus far. Made that mid lane gank for the first blood, but after that, Alliance have just played really, really solid Dota. And they will be able to defend this middle tower as well. They still have a glyph, they have Keeper of the Light, and bottom will be enough to push down this middle tower, and this tier 2 on the top lane will die as well. Dota picks up the last hit. But now it becomes a bit annoying for Alliance because up against these ranged BKB proof ultimates, it's actually annoying to push into Mouz when Mouz are on the defensive. So the game might reach a little bit of an impasse, but this definitely favors Alliance because they will have greater map control, so they can keep control of the jungle. Although Anti-Mage is one of those carries who doesn't really care about map control because he's so very mobile. You know, S4 getting dangerously close to that magical level 16, has 3,300 gold in the bank. And if you check out the levels, you can see Alliance just have such a huge level advantage. Over 10k gold advantage, 10k experience advantage. And their supports all hit that level 2s to get those level 2 ultimates on lockdown. And you can see the ward coverage on the side of Alliance is really, really taking control. Bone 7 gonna blink in, trying to get the Firefight Trail. We'll get the Force Staff to safety as Flame Break will be used. I think he was anticipating Ninja Spawn teleporting himself in, but Melee gonna drain all Bone 7's mana. Lodo getting stunned with the Roar as Bone 7 will be able to escape. So in the end, oh no, the such annoying glimpse back as S4 gonna get Laguna Blade right to the chin, and this is what I was saying, when Mouz is on defensive, they're actually really annoying to engage into. And all the while Black was actually able to kill off the tower. So good composure by Mouz allowed them to save Bone 7, claim a tower, and get a kill. And they killed out S4, one of the most significant heroes on the side of Alliance, delaying that level 16, as well as delaying his ridiculous farm potential. But now, oh, Alliance could potentially be in a bit of trouble. EGM, does he have the glimpse? Will he send Bone 7 right back? No, the glimpse and mana leak combination will be used. That is going to drain the majority of Bone 7's mana, as Loyal will go in. He's going to get himself Fiend Script. He's going to take a lot of HP. He has Aegis of the Immortal. Disruptor will kill off Bone 7 in the end with the Thunder Strike. Meanwhile, Mana Void was cancelled. EGM does pop the Ghost Scepter. He will be the next one to fall. And meanwhile, Lodo actually will be forced to use his Aegis. Actually going to turn his attentions back onto Fada. Fada taking a lot of edge. Anti-Mage does kill off Nature's Spot in the end, and Loda gets himself up to the 3rd HP. Going to try to fight out against Black. Does manage to get one bash. Loda going to be forced to use his Aegis, and this will prompt the imminent retreat of Mouz Sports. And actually, Loda, he wants more blood. Going to go re-engage upon Pos. Does get another bash. Synderen could potentially be in a lot of trouble as the Sprout going to come in after Bulldog's buyback. Synderen going to be the next one to fall. And Alliance managed to take that team fight, taking 4 kills in exchange for, I think, 3 kills because one person had the Aegis and Bulldog bought back. So in the end, Alliance definitely came out ahead. And if they get this tower, which they will, they definitely came out ahead.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Now Loda, the Aegis, he's going to have another item slot freed up towards him. And is that the finished Abyssal Blade? It is indeed. We'll see if Alliance, are they going to keep pushing in? They will be facing last levels Roar, so I don't think they should push in. But It seems like Alliance, they smell blood. They want to go in right now. This is going to be a mistake as Bone 7 is going to initiate with the lasso. EGM will be the target focus as Lunablade will ensure the kill. Loda going to be roared up. His rage duration will fully expire. He's going to get stun placed by the Lunablade mechanism. Going to heal him up to some degree as S4 is nightmared. It was eventually dispelled, but he was enfeebled up at the same time. A huge stack storm as well as a kinetic field going to restrict the movement of Siren as well as Fada. Black going to be sent right back into the glimpse with the kinetic field going to time out. Black getting all of his mana drain. And in the end, if Alliance only lose one hero, that would be a blessing. As all they lost was EGM. And that was such a weird engagement in general. But Alliance's item advantage just allowed them to tank so much of the damage. But again, engaging against Mouz while they're in their base, while they're on the high ground, just gives them such a big advantage. And Black is starting to get more and more farmed. Will he go for the heart? I think he needs damage rather than maneuverability. I think he wants to get the butterfly. Or will he go for the BKB? As unlike on the side of Alliance, or unlike the side of Mouz, Alliance actually have nothing that goes through BKB other than the Abyssal Blade. So BKB will definitely be a solid option. So I think Black will go for the BKB. But after that, I think he should go for the butterfly. And Black has actually been able to hit level 19. And looking at the levels, Black has managed to surpass Loda since Loda has not been farming up as easily. And now Black, yeah, he's actually catching up with Loda in terms of net worth, despite all the outer towers on the side of Mouse Sports being claimed. And there are still 3 towers up for Alliance, actually 4 towers up for the side of Alliance on the outskirts of the map. Meanwhile, Cernan has been picked up and earned, so he's made some form of item progression. Fada, his farm has been incredibly limited because he just has nowhere to farm. It's just a very, very sad day for Fada, as he looks like he's saving up for a Blink Dagger. I'm not too sure if Blink Dagger is the best idea for Fada, but they really want to focus on EGM, so if Barrett can't get him, then maybe Fada will be able to get him. As Antipatia does secure his BKB, and looks like Alliance going to smoke gank into the side of Mouse Sports. The Glimpse will catch Bone 7, and they're going to cast a static field, preventing Bone 7 from blinking out of there, so Bone 7 will die once again. And there was honestly nothing he could do about it. He's going to go for a BKB himself, a very, very prudent item build, as the pause will go through. I'm going to use this time to just fast forward. Bone 7 doesn't have enough for buyback, and he's out of the picture for the next 50 seconds, and everybody inside of Alliance are rotating in. So I think Alliance might be able to kill off the tier 3 Mouse. Don't have a glyph in the picture, but Black does have his BKB on lockdown. But similarly, Loda has his Abyssal Blade, so it's a very, very tricky engagement, but Alliance should have the advantage with Bowder out of the picture for the next 50 seconds or so. Meanwhile, Beastmaster, what will he go for now that Bowder is dead? I think he might have been counting on Bowder for the initiation, so maybe Blink Dagger won't be the appropriate choice since it doesn't give you extra damage, it just gives you a safer roar. But then again, if you get that safe roar, if Black can pop his BKB and just go ham without being worried by the Abyssal Blade, then that could potentially be very, very useful. So it's such a tense situation for the side of Mouse Sports, as they're in a lot of trouble. But Black all the while just going to split push it up. I haven't checked out Bulldog in a while. He's picked up the Scythe of Ice. So that's going to be very, very annoying for Mouse to deal with, especially the Bane, who's just going to be channeling his spells. And, I mean, everybody on the side of Mouse who doesn't have BKB, it's going to be annoying for them. But Alliance is going to back off. The creep waves were pushed a little bit too far for Alliance's likings. They didn't want to trade to tier 2 if they couldn't get the guaranteed T3. God, can't speak. Meanwhile, S4 has finished his own BKB, but BKB on Dragonite, it's pretty much core, but in this game, the effectiveness of BKB is gravely in doubt. I guess there's still a Guna Blade to worry about. There's still Firefly and Flame Break damage and Mana Void damage. And Brain Sap, I suppose. I don't know, there's just so many ultimates that I'd even consider skipping BKB. You can go for like a Heaven's Halberd or something, because that would give you more HP and give you a nice amount of evasion as well. But I guess S4 wants the just peace of mind that BKB does give you. And Alliance looks like they're just stalling until Roshan does respawn, and it will be up relatively soon. EGM has picked up a Ghost Scepter, so now he can be pretty much unencumbered by anything Mouse throws his way, bar and a Guna Blade. But still, look for Mouse to initiate onto EGM like they have done in the past. And the annoying thing about Disruptor, even though Glimpse is so incredibly long range, his other spells doesn't really have as much range. Thunderstrike has something like a 550, 600 cast range. Static Storm doesn't have the best cast range either. So Disruptor actually has to stay relatively close to his team in fights in order to use his spells to their fullest. Y'all, MKB will be the likely choice of Leicester trying to shut down that butterfly advantage before it even comes into effect. But I think Anti-Age will just probably skip the butterfly and go right into an Abyssal Blade. Or maybe I'll skip the heart, get the butterfly, and try to maximize attack speed with the Abyssal Blade. I think Abyssal Blade will definitely be likely for black in this situation, but he's going to have to sacrifice an item slot in order to get that item. I'm not too sure what item slot he will sacrifice in that case. And right now black holding on to enough gold for black because he knows if he dies, he will be need to buy back and just keep split pushing onwards and onwards ahead. But Alliance, I think they're going to claim this Roshan relatively uncontested once again. Again, it's very difficult for Mouz to play aggressively with this lineup without sufficient enough damage, but they can play defensively with their really, really annoying ultimates. And Barrett getting very close to his own BKB. He will have it after this next neutral spawn. And with that, that might be enough for Bonson to just charge in and might force the Abyssal Blade onto the Barrett in order to protect EGM, because he will be trying to focus EGM in all situations. Y'all, Roshan's gonna respawn. Bulldog, 2400 gold in the bank. Not too sure what he's gonna go for. Still has naked boots. So, maybe gonna go for treads. Maybe even toying with the idea of travels. Probably not. Likely he's gonna go for some damage. As, I mean, Alliance's lineup, they do a decent amount of damage, but it never hurts to have more up against a Barrier and an anti-mage lineup. I mean, why not get more damage? So Loda once again going to pick up the Aegis, and that means he can go super aggressively. And actually Lifesteal, if you look at his HP pool, not really that impressive. The majority of his survivability comes from Rage. And if he gets lassoed or warped before he can pop the Rage, Aegis is definitely a necessity, with his somewhat limited HP pool being a strength hero. But now S4 has hit that level 16, so Black, if he links in, he's going to be slowed down by the Frost Breath that the Frost Dragon does pump out, and that's going to be very, very annoying for Black to deal with. And Black going to pick up the Talisman Invasion, despite knowing that Loda likely going towards an MKB, and Nature's probably can build towards an MKB as well. He wants to have that attack speed, so I think he might be toying with the idea of skipping the heart, and just going to go straight into the Butterfly. I mean, he's going to have Butterfly, Travels, BKB, Manta. Maybe in the end he might consider selling the Battle Fury, but it's so good in terms of split pushing that it might just not be an option. If Alliance ever get an advantage, Anti-Age will just have to split push in order to try to get Mouz back into the game.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Looks like Dire not going to bother defending their tier 2. They have Wrath of Nature, they're going to clear out the creep wave, and this creep wave is so slow to arrive on the scene that Alliance will knock into tier 3 before this tier 2 will take too much damage. And actually, I'm a bit surprised that Black wasn't just going in to try to damage this tower with his right clicks. Fada picked up a medallion, so he has enough. He got a cheap item that still allows him to get back. I actually like this choice a lot because medallion goes through BKB as well as rage. So it's a very, very suitable item in this situation where he still needs buyback. And he still wants to have a way to amplify team's damage as Black still in the top lane. Mouz have already used the glyph, so are they gonna let this tier 3 die? It seems like that will be a situation. Bone 7 likely looking for an opening. But actually, he was disrupted because of the Manta-style illusions being pumped out by S4 with that illusion rune. Such a good rune as Bone 7 does grab Loda. He's enfeebled as well. Loda will definitely die. He does manage to pop the rage, so that's going to mitigate a lot of damage, but he will have the Aegis on lockdown. Possibly going to take a lot of damage from S4 as Black going in, trying to pick off Bulldog. EGM has casted his Stag Storm already as Black gonna get Abyssal up, but he's so very tanky. Feed Script gonna land on Loda. Loda will be the next one to fall, and Mouz is actually holding on a bit more surprising than I expected. Bulldog will be the next one to drop. And Alliance on full retreat. EGM casting a defensive kinetic field. Black gonna kill off the Keeper of the Light. EGM is gonna escape to safety, but he is gonna be the sole survivor in that engagement. Wow. Definitely was not expecting a near team wipe for Alliance in exchange for nobody on the side of Mouz dying. I don't think even any supports on the side of Mouz died. Bane died, and that's pretty much it. And Bane at this point is very expendable. But they got Loda, and they kept him locked in place, and the damage on anti-mage is simply not enough without that MKB being finished. So really, really incredible engagement being won by Mouz. Was not expecting that again. But Black is starting to become a huge problem. And I guess I underestimated his potential. I thought the Frost Dragon with the Abyssal Blade would have been able to lock in place, but what's good if you
Dire's
don't
middle
have the
tower is under
ways to
attack.
actually hit him,
Dire's
nor do you have the damage to
structures
bring
are
him down.
fortified.
So this is going to be a butterfly for Black. He's going to get the tier 2 as Dire fortify the structures. I don't imagine Mouse will push him for the
Dire's
tier
middle
3.
tower has fallen.
But still, they're going to get a lot of map control on their side, and they might rotate their attention to the tier 2 on the bottom lane. Might even choose to backdoor it. And that fight gave Mouse so much experience. They gave the support so much extra gold as neither of them died aside from the Bane. That is going to fuel Synod's Ghost Scepter. That is going to give Beastmaster a lot of extra farm. He might consider the idea of Aghanim Scepter. That's going to give Barretter a Mask of Madness trademark Bone 7 Barretter as he wants to expand mobility that the Mask of Madness does give you. But still, I don't know if this is the wisest idea to go Mask of Madness in this game. Because mobility is all well and good, but Mouse are taking these fights and winning in defensive engagements. I think mobility is definitely a lot more impressive when you're on the offensive. Because then you can blink and get the 4-step and then just drag him 10 billion miles away. In defensive engagement, I mean, the team will just follow whoever you're lassoing in anyway. But still, it worked out in the previous game up against Lions Pride. It might work out again for Bone 7 in this game. And if you take a look at the goal graph, you can see Mouse just made up a 7k deficit in the span of one team fight and a couple towers. They just made up a huge deficit in terms of experience graph as they just managed to claim 800 experience advantage and have now cut the deficit to 400 experience. But still, Alliance themselves have a lot of room to grow. MKB still has not yet been finished up on Moda. And looks like S4 looking to initiate onto Black. He's going to pop the Rage as here comes the teleport Bulldog. They will chain stuns very nicely as the Abyss Blade and Hex are actually stacked up. They will kill off Anti-Mage, forcing a buyback. So that is going to be very, very annoying for Black. And we'll see what Alliance decide to do with this. They're not going to push in without this Dragon Form online. But I imagine they want to strike before Black will have enough time to buy back. And Black actually smartly holding on to his buyback, recognizing the creep equilibrium is pushed up far enough that Alliance can't immediately apply pressure. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not the worst death for Black. He didn't even use a BKB charge. But it's still a nice kill. They managed to get themselves a good chunk of gold, and I like what Alliance are doing. They're going to force Black to buy out. Although S4's Dragon Form going to be down, so S4 not going to be nearly as fearsome. They just want to really, really put the fear into Black's mind as Bone 7 looking for initiation. Not dragging, does finally get the 4-step, but actually took a lot of damage. Is Black gonna be buying back now? S4 is now in the range or the melee form, but Bone 7 gonna get himself a glimpse back as looks like S4 gonna be traded for Barretter. But I think Alliance are happy with that. They forced the buyback. I'm not too sure what the deal with Bone 7 was in that engagement. I guess just misclicked a bunch of times. And MKB has been finished on Loda now, so now he has a way to pierce through the evasion. And now Black, his HP pool looking a little bit less impressive at this point. So we're going to have to see what he goes for. Thankfully he didn't use a BKB charge in that engagement, so he still doesn't have to worry about disruption so much. But now Mouse, they're going to have to play it very defensively, because if Black dies once more, that will be game. Mouse or Alliance push very, very hard with the Nature's Prophet on their side. And Bulldog is finishing an Orchid as well, so they want to lock Black in place as long as possible, as well as silence if you like the Beastmaster, the Lina, and the Bane Elemental. All very, very strong spellcasters, and Bulldog will just be on lockdown duty. You know, EGM has a gem, so you can see there are just no words up on the side of Mouse apart from this word that Alliance will never walk over. But similarly, for the side of Alliance, they themselves don't have any words. Beastmaster, do you have a gem? No, it's actually the Bane who has a gem. Not really the person you'd expect to have a gem, because he's not that survivable, but still, it's better to have a gem and prevent Alliance from getting vision than just not having a gem and allowing Alliance free reign over your jungle. Checking out the gold graph, you can see the slight timer Black has died means that the gold graph going to climb once more in Alliance's favor. Experience graph going to take a significant dip since Black was level 25. So I imagine a couple of Alliance heroes gained a couple of levels from that successful kill. So just judging on what Alliance are waiting for, obviously they're waiting for Rostan with H as well as Cheese. They're going to give one to Loda, and going to give the other likely to S4, since he has an item slot. S4 going to build towards the AC, actually buying out So not going to have buyback. He's going to finish that AC right now, so that's going to give his team a nice armor boost. And a bit surprised nobody inside of Alliance has yet finished the Vlads, but if Keeper Light does want to have it, he can buy it immediately. Meanwhile, EGM has finished the 4-staff, so that's going to give his team a bit more maneuverability. And if Floated is dragged the wrong way during a lasso, or their Fiend's Grip in one direction, you just 4-staff and really prevent a lot of follow-up damage from Mouz. So 4-staff, a really, really strong item, considering the amount of stun duration that Mouse's ultimates do pump out.
Illusion.
Meanwhile, Black looks like he's going to skip the heart. He's going to go for the Basher, and this Basher was definitely a necessity. But against the MKB, now his survivability remains in doubt, especially not having buyback in this crucial situation. I think Mouse have to give up this Roshan. They really can't contest it with Black not having buyback. Meanwhile, Esweiler with the AC, looks like he's gonna probably pick up, I don't know, I think, oh, Barrett are gonna snag Loda, gonna pop the Mask Madness as well as the BKB, so he can't get glimpsed out. Loda gonna get himself Fiend's Grip, but here comes Sagstorm as well as Disruption, gonna immediately kill off Bane. They're gonna get Sidrin as well. Sidrin forced to buy back, and now Black in a lot of trouble. Will focus attention on Loda. Black, he might end up dying. He's abyssal up, he's gonna get hexed up, he will die. He doesn't have buyback. Barrett are gonna kill off Nature's Prophet, but still a very, very terrible engagement from Mouse Sports in general. And this might seal their fates. Alliance will definitely go in for the melee barracks, and they're going to definitely swing around to the bottom barracks as well. They know Black doesn't have buyback. They might even know he doesn't have enough money. This could potentially be mega creeps off the back of one mistake of Mouse Sports. Just a really, really questionable engagement from Chrome 7. And the damage, again, outside of Black is just not very scary. And that AC definitely helped out Alliance quite a bit. That extra armor just mitigated the damage that Black could potentially pump out. But Alliance are going to back off. I'm so confused. They should know for sure that Black doesn't have buyback. I'm sure Alliance have wrote down the time for buyback. Maybe they think it's still 5-minute buyback cooldown and need buyback in 16 seconds. Maybe they just want the safety of Roshan, but I think they could have potentially ended the game. Barretter and Anti-Mage weren't buying back, and I don't know. I'm really questioning this decision by Alliance. But I guess better be safe rather than sorry. I mean, we're already in a 1-game deficit. We don't want to overextend too much. But still, I think he might have tried to at least take the bottom barracks since it was fully exposed. But Alliance is going to get themselves a safe Roshan for Loda once again. S4 will pick up the cheese. I was going to say before that engagement broke out, it might be more prudent for S4 to pick up the Aegis, because he's always the brunt of focus from the Fiend's Grip or one of these ultimates. And his HP pool is not that impressive. His armor value is really, really strong. And EGM going to add another shiny gem to his collection, so Aki and GGM both have a gem. And actually Heaven's Halberd was the choice for Aki. So after the BKB's down, nothing will allow Black to attack. And Alliance were just really building the lineup to counter Black completely. Really, really smart item choices. Beastmaster finished in Aghanims, but that's really good for the range, but the damage, where's the damage going to come from for Mouse? Beastmaster needs to build an AC, but Mouse needs to turtle long enough for that to actually be built. Goldgraph going to represent a huge swing for Alliance recently. You can see now they've surpassed the 15k gold advantage once again, surpassing the 15 experience advantage once again, and Alliance, they smoked up, didn't want to deward, but now they recognize Mouse are just probably sitting in their base, very afraid to come out. But Mouse, they still have a shot. It's a very, very slim shot since their damage output is very, very insignificant. But if they manage to kill off, I guess, Dragonite before he can use the cheese and lock load in place with our ultimates, they do have a shot, and still, Black is very, very annoying to deal with as a split pusher in general. But you can see Black very hesitant to split push because he knows if he dies he won't have enough gold to actually buy back. All of his gold is unreliable, and if there is an invisible Dragonite waiting in the shadows with a Nature's Prophet Lifestealer Bomb, he will die, and that's why Black is not split pushing as aggressively. He knows he paid the price in a previous engagement, which forced him to use a buyback, and he's not going to make that same mistake without the backup of his team. Alliance with the Roshan, Aegis as well as Cheese, and having full buybacks on all their heroes, I gotta imagine. Well, no buybacks on any of their heroes aside from S4. Loda bought out, he bought himself a Heaven's Halberd. Interesting choice. Wants to have evasion from Black and also prevent Black from attacking. I guess anti-Black is the name of the day. Name of the game. I mean, this is just racist from Alliance. Why do they have to be so anti-Black? God. Bulldog actually picks up his own BKB. I'm not too sure why, because there's a billion ultimates on the side of mouse that go through BKB. But I guess he just wants it just because Sentry Ward going to be planted by Alliance, going to prevent S4 from initiating with the Dragon Tail. But Lifesteal is firmly planted inside of S4 as S4 going to initiate, and Loda, he's going to pop out immediately. Bone 7 will get the drag off, going to drag S4 all the way to the tower. He couldn't pop the cheese, and actually Loda taking a lot of damage. He's getting bashed to death by Black and the Manta Styles. Bulldog does pick up a kill on Cinder. Loda going to duke it out against Black. Black will retreat. He's going to pop the Mana Void. Will kill off the Lifesteal. He's going to die, but Black does have enough to buy back now as the BKB on S4 was used. But was able to recall him back into the fight. And now, Nightmare is going to use on Loda. The Rack's likely going to fall as Pot's going to get the Brain Tap, going to prolong his life. Loda does manage to finish off the melee barracks, and now Bulldog going to work on Bone 7. Bulldog taking a lot of edge from Black. He will escape Blacking. Permabash Black will die again. He doesn't have buyback. This is going to likely be the end of Mouse in this game. As Alliance, they're going to back off for now, or they're going to take the bottom barracks. Cheese is still up for S4, so he can potentially heal himself up to full mana. Loda still has full HP as well as full mana for the most part, but Lasso is going to be back up. This might not be yet the end for Mouse. They do have Roar up. Their ultimates have very short cooldowns at this point, so they can potentially lock down the lines for quite a bit. Lasso going down onto Loda. Once again, the Roar going to be chained as well. They're dishing out all of their DPS onto Loda. Loda's going to die. And that means the top barracks will be protected for now. EGM is going to die as well. Make no bones about it. So that's paying for their attempt to secure the top lane barracks, but in the end, they were able to get the bottom barracks, and now it's going to be 2 lanes of barracks and Black. You can see this anti-Black lineup is just really giving a lot of promise. The bash percentage of the Leicester, you got so many bashes with the Abyssal Blade that Black really couldn't dish out the majority of his DPS. And unfortunately for Black, things are going to get only worse because now he's down to a 7-second BKB charge. And now he's going to be buyback for the next, or without buyback for the next 6 minutes. Bulldog. I mean, the only one who bought back was S4. And S4 really not the most important hero on the sidelines. It's definitely Loda who's pumping out the majority of the DPS and keeping Black locked in place. So it's looking very, very scary for Mouse at this point. The series is in danger of being tied up 1-1. But Mouse is not going to give up. As long as they have an anti-mage, they still have a shot. If they can manage to get one successful team fight, they can kill off these creep players in an instant. And force back, and if they win the next team fight, then they can potentially take maybe 2 sets of barracks. So Mouse is definitely not going to give up until the game does end at the throne. I mean, this lineup, even though it's not that scary in terms of DPS, can probably hold out against mech creeps. And Fada picks up the Vlads, definitely very important. The armor value, I think, is the biggest deal, as they definitely need all the armor they can possibly get for Black. And also the Lifesteal, very important. It helps sustain anti-mage's HP pool as Mouse going to smoke up. And here comes Bone 7. Will initiate onto Bulldog. Bulldog will die. He does have enough for buyback. Actually, Bulldog is going to escape the wrath of Mouse for now. He's going to get force staffed away to safety as S4 looking to reinitiate. He doesn't have buyback. He's getting bashed to death. Loda looking to initiate onto Black. He knows which target is Black, but the Fiend's going to be channeling Loda. Disruption going to cast that ultimate onto Paz. Going to cancel that stack storm. Black will escape for now, but he's at low HP. Can't reach out without the heart. Loda going to pop the cheese. Loda taking a lot of edge. Fada duking it out. Mono gets Loda, realizes he can't win this fight. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade thus far. Bone 7 looks to escape on out of there. Will escape successfully. So 1-for-1 fight. It's going to be a 2-for-1 death for Mouse in the end, but still a good fight for Mouse because they fought outside of the Alliance base and they managed to kill off S4, further limiting his potential to buy back. And that's what Mouse need to do. They need to go on the offensive. They can't afford to take any more fights in their base because, I mean, buildings have just been decimated on the bottom lane as well as the middle lane, so the creeps are just going to go in and attack the towers while Alliance are pressuring the top lane. And Alliance going to make their way towards the top lane, going to likely force a buyback on Fada and then back off. Because Roshan's going to be spawning relatively soon. And also, another BKB tick has gone down the black food chain of his BKB. He might be forced to drop the BKB and get a new BKB at this rate, just because BKB is so essential up against a Disruptor and this crowd control heavy Nature's Prophet. Gold and experience graph still favoring Alliance quite heavily, and Alliance definitely have a really significant hold over this game. But where there's a will, there's a way, and Mouz is definitely trying to will themselves towards a victory. And Anti-Mage will have his Abyssal Blood up relatively soon. He's gonna... I think he should probably buy out. I don't know if he can really afford to save for buyback at this point. Although Anti-Mage is mobile enough that he can get himself back into a fight very quickly, so maybe he will buy back. I'm not too sure. But I think the Abyssal Blade... I mean, there's so many disables locking Alliance in place. Adding an Abyssal Blade stunt on top of that will just be really useful for Mouz in general. And might allow them to even up these team fights rather than just completely favoring Alliance in general. Checking out the items, Aki still has his gem that he's held on to. EGM still has the Ghost Scepter. Lifestealer has not made any item progression, will likely pick up Boots Travel and then sell his TP, get the Aegis. And Lifestealer, I mean, 51 minutes in the game and Loda has farmed pretty well. It's a bit surprising that he's not yet maxed out, but he's been very conservative. Allows his team to farm up. You know, as far as died a multitude of times, but I don't think Dragon Knight minds too much. He's taking so much of the damage. He has 40 armor, has a lot of HP, has a BKB. He has, I mean, Mouz devotes so many resources in terms of killing him off that it can just allow Loda to go in. So I'm sure S4 is not really minding his score too much. He's, again, drawing a lot of the focus off of his supports, as well as Loda, and taking it onto him. You know, Black decides to finish the Abyssal rather than going for the buyback route. I think you do have to play risky at this point, because if he was in another team fight, you will most likely lose the game. Barter finished the Boots Travel, has BKB, he's pretty much maxed out. You know, Bane, Ghost Scepter. Lina, Ghost Scepter. Fada, Ghost Scepter? No, not so likely apparently. Alliance gearing up to take this Roshan. And they will have slots to take this. S4 and Lotus still have enough room to claim both the Aegis as well as the cheese. And actually, I think it might actually benefit S4 if he were to take up the Aegis rather than Lotus, since he did die with the cheese the last time, and he was just forced to give the cheese to Lotus in the end. But Mouz, they're going to smoke up. They want to take this fight, as the Roshan will respawn. Both teams smoked up as Bone7 looking to initiate, as gonna pop the BKB, will grab Loda once again. Here comes Dragonite, gonna pop the BKB. Fada gonna get stunned up, he's gonna get Static Storm as well, can't cast the Rage. Black getting stunned up by the Abyssal Blade, taking a lot of edge, but now gonna turn his attentions back on Loda. Loda gonna get Laguna Blade up, Black will retreat to safety. Loda will be the first one to die, he is gonna buy back immediately, and now here comes the onslaught. S4 still at full HP as well as full mana. Meow Barretter was able to kill off, oh, he killed off Loda, that's what the kill was. S4 still going to work. Glimpse will disrupt Fada. He's going to die. Bane died as well. And Mouz didn't really have any other choices but to take that Roshan engagement. And in the end, they couldn't win it, which is very unfortunate for them. And Loda with the buyback. Now he's definitely going to claim the Aegis. And S4 once again take care of that cheese. Yeah, Bulldog killed off Synderen. I suppose with the, no, didn't even use Wrath of Nature. I guess Synderen was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to retreat from that Roshan engagement. But now, I mean, if Mouz kill off Loda twice, they could potentially have an avenue, but that's a big if. Considering Black doesn't have buyback, so he can't even go all out, he will have to blink back to safety and heal up in the fountain if he were to take way too much damage. You know, S4 gonna get an item shipped towards him? No, just some TPs, I suppose. And Alliance gonna pressure. They know that they are still very strong at this point. And they know they can't really wait for Loda's buyback to come back up, because then they'll lose the Aegis. So they're gonna go in. But S4 just gonna farm up. Looks like he's trying to finish an item before Cupid does recall him. Not too sure what he's waiting for. Maybe he's gonna try to get Boots of Travel? I guess Alliance are just turtling offensively, just gonna keep this top wave continuously pushed out. But, I mean, Mouz are more than content to keep stalling it out. I mean, what choice do they have? They really have no other options. Bulldog has now finished an MKV, so now he can pierce through the evasion of Black even more so. But Black has now been able to farm himself up to having enough for buyback, so now he has 2 lives. And this could potentially annoy Alliance very, very significantly, as S4, did he farm to anything in the end? He finished his own MKB, so triple MKBs up on the side of Alliance. As Barrow once again gonna initiate, gonna grab EGM this time. EGM definitely gonna die, as he is not gonna buy back unless Keep Light will recall him. S4 looking to initiate, gonna kill off the tier 4 as S4 gonna take a lot of damage. He's gonna take a ward. Can he actually cast the cheese? He cannot! He's gonna Loda gonna get the Fiend Script as Loda's taking a lot of damage. Tier 3 actually gonna fall. Loda on full retreat. Disruptor gonna buy back as Keep Light will take a barrage of physical attacks. Meanwhile, open wounds will be popped. Bulldog taking a lot of damage as well. Where is Loda? He's gonna go back with the open wounds, gonna try to go work on Black, but he's pretty much by himself. And Loda is gonna die. He doesn't have buyback, keep in mind. And now Aki's gonna be the next one to fall. H is still up. Bulldog back in the picture, but he's just getting bashed to death. The disables on the side of Mouz just controlling Alliance to no end. Loda's gonna die. He doesn't have buyback, but Mouz, unfortunately for them, just simply can't push after all these deaths. The creeps, just so annoying. But man, Mouz just putting in work. Black didn't need that to buy back. A remarkable victory for Mouz. How did that happen? Alliance just pushed the issue without Disruptor, and Disruptor is actually a very critical force in terms of keeping anti-mage locked down once the BKB is done. And then S4 died. He couldn't use his cheese. He doesn't have enough money for buyback since he bought out. So he's gonna be dead. This tier 3 likely gonna fall. This is really, really... If a Mouz make this comeback, it'll be a comeback of the ages. Because this is very, very ridiculous. They're gonna get the tier 3 at the very least. I don't know if they're gonna devote themselves to barracks when S4 is gonna respawn. Actually, I think they should. I mean, their ultimates at this point have such short cooldown. Boots of Travel by certain will be used, and they know they can actually teleport themselves in because Bulldog doesn't have that back. As Bone 7 looking to initiate, won't be able to grab anybody, but he's just gonna usher the entirety of Alliance away. He's gonna get himself glimpsed back up into a Static Storm. Will he pop his BKB? No, he's actually gonna die. Roar gonna come in. S4 gonna take a lot of edge. He did get his BKB off this time. Can he pop the cheese? He will pop cheese, but the Lugamate will be used. S4 gonna be glimpsed right back in. He's gonna die once again. He won't have buyback. Vote is still dead for the next 18 seconds. Bone 7 gonna try to get himself back into the fight, and it looks like Mouz, are they gonna go for the tier 4s? EGM will pop the Ghost Scepter. He's gonna be okay for now. Black, yes, he is gonna go for the tier 4s. I think he should just go for the middle barracks, and that's indeed what he decides. You can't go for the tier 4s when Loda is gonna respawn relatively soon, and Bulldog could just potentially go for a base race with Loda inside him, and that's not a fight that Mouz can win. But Bulldog with Infestula will just 3-shot center in, poor guy. Still, Mouz managed to claim some semblance of map control. Well, not some semblance. They managed to kill off barracks, but still, every small step is definitely a victory for Mouz. And now, if Black wanted to drop his old BKB, buy a new one, he'd still have enough for a buyback. I think that should be an option, as it doesn't seem like he wants to sell the treads. That attack speed and extra bit of survivability, very, very useful. And Mouz suddenly right back into the game. So now they made up a bit of the experience as well as the goal graph. I mean, definitely favoring Alliance, and you've got to favor Alliance. But the annoying thing is that they've just not been able to get that much farm going, so they haven't been able to farm up for those buybacks apart from Loda. S4 has just been dying over and over and over again. And Black, he just bought something. Is that a new BKB? What did he just buy? New BKB? No, still old BKB. He bought an MKB! He sold the Battle Fury for the MKB. Wow. He really respects the Heaven's Halberd. I don't know, I think... Maybe he thinks now that they've finally taken a lane in barracks, the MKB is going to be more useful in T-fights. And overall it's going to increase anti-mage's DPS if the enemies aren't clumped up. But it does... Well, I guess Black figures he's not really split pushing that much anyways, so... Yeah, I like this choice in the end, now that I think about it. Yeah, Alliance finally on the defensive, and it's still annoying for Mouse to be on the offensive themselves. You know, Beastmaster has boots travel as well as the Vlads. Well, he's had that Vlads for quite a while. And he has 2 sets of boots. Gonna likely sell those arcane boots relatively soon. And has enough for buyback. Fada has not been focused, has just been roaring and attack speed auring, and that attack speed aura I think is really, really helping Black out quite a bit with those bashes. You know, as we're farming up, desperately wants to get enough gold for that buyback, but it's just so hard. Their gold intake by Alliance is just so small in comparison to Mouse, because Bulldog's constantly pushing the ways of the Wrath of Nature, and then jungle is reserved for Loda, so S4 forced to farm in unlikely locales in 0.7. I think he senses S4's appearance on the map. He's going to get that invisibility and just going to scout out the Roshan pit, as it will be respawning in about 4 minutes. And now, we're going to see what Mouse decides to do. They're just going to farm up, and I think they'll probably try to take a team fight inside their base again. But if they go on the offensive, I don't know. I don't know what Mouse should actually do. They've won the last couple team fights, but if they give Alliance too much time to farm up, then Dragon Knight still has room to grow, and Lotus still has room to grow, funny enough. Bulldog still has room to grow as well. You can sell his Shadow Blade, pick up a pretty decent late game item, so it might behoove Mouse to strike while the iron's hot when Alliance is reeling, but now Alliance have been able to farm that buyback, so that's probably what's giving Mouse pause. And this is such an awkward position. You've won the last couple team fights, but the enemy has a triple core, which still has room to grow, and Black is definitely capped out at this point. I mean, your team has room to grow, but it's just not nearly significant in comparison. Meanwhile, checking out the supports on the side of Alliance. I'm not too sure how effective these 7 Halberd mass purchases have been. I mean, I have yet to really see them in action. I have to assume they haven't been that effective because Black is probably just killing off Keeper of the Light. And Loda probably is just trying to bash the side of Mouse into oblivion, as Bulldog is infested, just going to pressure that top lane. And that's going to force a response from Mouse. Barrier will be the one to defend this. Well, I'm sure Black will make his way towards the top lane very, very soon. Gold per minute, Black is now climbing up to the 700 GPM point, facing super creeps for the majority of the past 30 minutes or so. Man, Mouse playing with a really, really, really good composure. A lot of lesser teams would have given up at this point against a triple core with only 1 carry on your side, but Mouse playing very, very calm. But Alliance, I think they still have a very, very good advantage because they're going to get themselves an Aegis, and now they actually have buyback on everybody. So they can actually, you know, throw themselves at the tier 4s. And Mouse, I think they have to contest this Roshan. They can't afford to give Loda an extra life, as well as S4 another cheese. I mean, at this point, S4 might as well be lactose intolerant because these cheeses have just not been helping him out whatsoever. Bone 7 can initiate onto S4. I don't know if it's the best engagement. Will they be able to drag it? Yes, they drag S4 far enough. S4 is getting bashed into a bit. S4 is going to die. He's going to buy back immediately, but he wanted the Dragon Form. Black going to get stunned up, but the Feed Script going to immediately cancel that stun duration. The Stag Storm going to immediately cancel the Feed Script. Havoc is breaking loose as Dragon does pick off the Bane Elemental. Keep Light will cast him. Black and Eladril. Black is going to die to the Orchid Burn from Bulldog. And now Mouse on full retreat, as Alliance were forced to use a buyback, where they only forced to use 1. Just the 1, it seems like. So a great victory for the side of Alliance. They're going to get Roshan, they're going to get Aegis as well as Cheese. And now Black doesn't have buyback, so if Mouse just focuses him down, Black is just going to be screwed. I think it's time for Black to drop this BKB and get a new one. I mean, it won't help you against the bashes, but it'll help you against Static Storm. And the annoying thing for Black is that the 4-second BKB is not even enough to outlast the Static Storm duration, since it lasts for 5 seconds. Or might even consider toying with the idea of Heart, but never mind, I could stage spot with that. Just would not be a useful situation. But Roshan is going to be claimed by Alliance. They're going to give the Aegis this time to S4, because they know if he dies, he won't have buyback, so Cheese is not going to be that effective. And they give the cheese instead to Loda. So Alliance gonna apply some pressure. they're gonna wait for the Dragon Knight form to be up on S4 before they make their move. And Mouz should just buy out. I'm a bit surprised Svada is not yet bought out. I'm not too sure what he should get. Maybe Heaven's Halberd himself could potentially be very useful against the likes of Loda, Bulldog, as well as the Dragon Knight. But he would have enough if he sold the Arcane Boots and maybe the Medallion. You know, Force Staff has been picked up on Keep Light Alliance. It's just so difficult to kill now. And Black has bought out. He bought a full new BKB, dropped the old one in the base because he can't sell it any longer. So a good purchase by Black, gonna allow him to protect himself against Nature's Prophet and the Heaven's Halberd a bit longer. But is that gonna be enough against the survivability that Alliance has? We're gonna have to see, as Alliance gonna burn the glyph very, very soon. Just gonna let the Siege Dragons go to work. You know, S4 didn't pick up any items. He was forced to buy back 2-9-21. Not the best game of S4's life, but still, a lot of the initiation has gone onto him. Black actually with 800 CS. Wow. Talk about ridiculous farm. And now Alliance just going to play the waiting game. They have the Dragon Knight farm online. They might be waiting for Wrath of Nature. No, they're just going to immediately... No, he's going to cancel it. I think he should probably stay for the team fight. Because if team fight goes wrong, then Mouse's other lanes could potentially be pressured quite hard by the Wrath of Nature. You know, Bone 7 just flying overhead, looking for initiation. His initiations have been decent for the most part, but they've just not been able to work out. They're going to snag Bulldog. I don't know if this is the right target to focus initiation on, but I guess it was the first target. Black going to get himself immediately pistoled up. Loda's going to get himself forward. Is Black going to go on the offensive, going to try to bring down Loda. Loda, he's going to use the cheese. He does manage to get himself up to enough HP as Bulldog will be the first one to die on the side of Alliance. Fiend Script will go down to Loda, but S4 coming out of the DPS. Black going to die. And this should be the game for Mouz. Without Black, they can't possibly hope to defend these barracks. Loda drew off the focus long enough that S4 is actually able to do stuff in the team fight. GG, well played, is called by Mouz. What a game, what defense by Mouz as they held on to the bitter end. And he managed to make the game very, very competitive after taking melee barracks, but Alliance just got too big an advantage. And Mouz just simply didn't have the heroes that could deal with Alliance in the late stages of the game. So really, really fantastic play by Alliance in the early stages of the game. Bit shaky in the late stages, but they looked definitely a lot better as the game drew on. So hopefully you enjoyed that game. I'll be back with Game 3 very, very soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.